musical background.
Yeah.
You know.
Which is not the most common thing
No.
in orchestras.
So that's where that came from, although it was not my decision solely. I mean, it was something that clearly was quite a history that I inherited on the music director question.
Yes.
You know.
But according to the artistic model that you sketched earlier, it should not be your decision alone.
Exactly.
It's my sense that musical decision-making has not been spread widely enough among the constituencies of orchestras.
Correct.
The musicians, who are by far, if you ask me, the most underused resource of any orchestra, have had very little to do with it. Most people in the staff feel that they have no competence to talk about musical questions, although if you talk to them, they may turn out to be much savvier than they think they are.
Right.
And the artistic staff would be a tiny fraction of the people in orchestras. And I've also talked to board members and board chairs who believed that they had no authority to say anything. Not at your orchestra, but at other places.
I'm not surprised.
So you have the funny spectacle of a major, and in your case, multi-million-dollar institution, which really makes these decisions in a very, very small circle, without maybe any long-range plan involved.
And this is what I'm working to change.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what it means is it's very hard for the institution to have buy-in to an artistic direction, because most people haven't been part of the discussion and won't even be asked afterwards what they think.
That's right. It was so interesting coming into the organization and seeing all these very talented people operating in silos.
Yes.
And then insisting that they talk to each other and watching the friction. It was just amazing.
Can you give any kind of example?
Well, and these two, I won't say who they are, but everything's good now. Let's put it that way. But two of them came into an early senior staff meeting. This must have been in October, and they were just bright red. They said, "We just had a terrible fight." And I said, "Then things are working," which they didn't understand. But now they do, because there are boundaries in symphony orchestras that historically have never been crossed.
Can you give an example?
Well, I mean, artistic planning, for instance, has historically been the prestigious domain
of one or two or three people.
Right. And they communicate with the music director and the soloists and the guest conductors, and it's prestigious.
Yes.
Yeah, and marketing is, oh dear, you know.
That is exactly the one I was thinking about. I have worked the number of major orchestras with the marketing departments, and I have been present in conference calls when the marketing department first learns the next season's artistic plans.
Yes.
And the unspoken phrase, if you had a comic book thought balloon over the head of the marketing people, it would be, "Oh, spit." How are we going to sell this? And what's actually more remarkable than artistic people coming up with a plan that the marketing people don't think they can sell is that the marketing people had no idea what the artistic people were thinking until the artistic people were finished.
They carry it down the hall.
They carry it down the hall and say, "Here, fait accompli, all done."
Right.
And you would think that that was wrong on so many levels.
Yeah.
For one thing, the marketing people have no buy-in. So if they initially think it's hard, they have no incentive to work overtime to make it happen, and because they haven't been consulted, they don't know why it's being done. Right. And also on a simple human level, it's so discourteous.
Yeah. And not that we're like a manufacturing operation, but can you imagine a car?
No, of course.
You know, being designed and then driven off the assembly line, and then the marketing department is told to go sell it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas when you say you don't want to be like a car company, you say you don't want to say to the marketing department, "What can you sell?" and then program exactly that.
Right.
But the marketing department could easily fine-tune even challenging artistic plans and say, I remember one, this is completely not orchestras. It comes from a conversation I had more than a decade ago with the marketing director of the Metropolitan Opera. He was saying, okay, 4 or 5 productions every year I can't sell, but the artistic department wants to do. Fine, he says, at that time they were selling 92% of their tickets. He didn't think it was a problem if 4 or 5 productions had half full houses. And parenthetically, it was fascinating to me that he never cared to see if he could develop any audience for that, because he was making his nut overall. But leaving that apart, the one small wistful thought he had was if only they could do Berg's Wozzeck at a time when European tourists were in New York. They would buy tickets to it, but the tourists in New York from elsewhere in the United States would not. So that was a small point in which the marketing department could have helped the institution carry out the kind of artistic plan that you'd think marketers would not like.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are many other
I can
examples.
think of several, but in the interest of time. But that's right. Yep. Or they'll think of a way to enhance something, to build on an artistic idea that makes it much more interesting.
Or I know in the case of your marketing director, I have heard him say that there's a certain percentage, you're saying now 10% of your audience that likes ambitious, on the edge things, and so why not program some things specifically for them? And so there's a point of a marketing director saying what you would not expect, saying let's concentrate in a certain way on doing unusual things rather than always marginalize them by doing the Tchaikovsky concerto after intermission.
Exactly. On that topic, and one of the upshots of some of the planning was that on our discovery concerts, which always have an ambitious repertoire, we're doing after-concert concerts that start at 10:30 and take it much further, much more challenging music, chamber music on stage. And I think anywhere between 500 and 800 audience members are staying.
Are they really?
And they're young, some not aren't young, but they're staying for those concerts, which end after 11. Isn't that amazing? That came out of artistic planning.
And what does that do for those audience members' relationship to the orchestra? Are they subscribers, single ticket buyers? What
I don't know the answer to that, but I have to believe that
you have to believe it's good.
It's working.
Yes. Because they're staying of their own free will.
Right.
Presumably they stayed because they were enthusiastic about the possibility of what they would hear. Right. I would imagine their reaction is enthusiastic.
Very.
How about the overall problem of the younger audience so much talked about? Is this something that you concern yourself with?
Quite a bit. And seat share is directed. I know the Boston Symphony tried something along these lines with colleges in Greater Boston, providing access to X number of concerts. But I believe the weakness of that, and we're correcting, is that they couldn't go online, click on the ticket, print it out, and come.
What did they have to do?
They had to go down to the hall and, and we do have rush, and it does bring a number of young people in. But we've been marketing to the younger crowd very heavily, and those publications and media outlets in Philadelphia that target younger people. I was surprised at first to read in City Pages. It's one of the free newspaper. There we are up next to some of the most interesting things.
You mean in terms of your advertising?
Yeah.
And does it work? Do you get a response?
We do get a response. Which is very encouraging. And of course, downtown Philadelphia now is growing. People are moving into Center City, younger people, and so we're marketing directly to them.
Right. That is obviously encouraging. Some studies have shown that people under 40 primarily get information about things they want to do from word of mouth.
Yes.
Do you try viral marketing at all?
I can't answer that, but I would guess. Oh, my.
What an adventure for you, Jim.
It is. It's very interesting. And when I talk about it like this, it makes it more interesting.
I was going to say that I think every person watching this is going to say, this man is enjoying it. He has a real appreciation for the job.
Thanks. Well, thanks for this great interview.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
Thanks, Greg.